On this edition of River Tales, we'll tour the Bonne mines, visit the Gihring family farms, go retro with gaming grounds, take a ride at a helicopter flight school, and have one last look at the original Broadway Sculptors. Stay tuned to River Tales.
In the world of healthcare, 2014 brought many new questions. You need people on your side to help you find answers. Southeast Health is here. From wellness and diagnosis to treatment and rehabilitation, we bring it all together to bring you simpler solutions for healthcare. Call us or visit sehealth.org/simpler. Southeast Health. The difference is how you're treated.
I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. You're not going to find any better facility, and you're not going to find any better doctors or staff members either. Everyone that's been through treatment has a rock there in that garden. I said, in this place, find care, compassion, hope, healing, and love. It's obvious that they care. I can't praise them enough. I'm their biggest fan.
Bonne Mine, a National Historic Site, is the world's largest freshwater dive resort. Water conditions are a constant 100 feet of visibility. Bonne Mine is an unusual but beautiful and relaxing full-service dive resort.
My name's Doug Juergens. My wife Catherine and I are the owners and developers of the Bonne Mine. We cater to about 15,000 divers a year and over 30,000 non-diving tourists a year with our boat and walking tours. The mine began in 1862 with surface mining and then developed into deep earth mining in the late 1860s. It became the world's largest producer of lead in the world until 1962, when basically they played out the lead and abandoned the mine. The mine, when they abandoned it, they left all the equipment in there because that method of mining had become obsolete, and they decontaminated it, they shut off the pumps, and the mine just gradually started filling with water. And we started development in the late 70s to develop the mine for tourism and scuba diving. In 1983, Jacques Cousteau came down and actually made a movie of the mine, and that's what really gave us a lot of world prominence. As you descend the steps of the mine, you're going to descend about 65 steps into the mine, and then you're going to go into an area that is absolutely a huge cavernous area. The lake in the mine, which you'll see on the boat tour, has over 17 miles of navigable shoreline. It's the world's largest subterranean lake, and it's filled with crystal clear water. And the water is filtered through the dolomite rock, which is limestone magnesium. And when it gets into the mine, it's pure, it's crystal clear, it's mineral water. So we teach scuba here. It takes 2 weekends to get certified as a scuba diver, and generally costs around $300 to $400 to do the entire course to become certified. From a diving point of view, Bonne Mine offers some of the very best diving in the world. Not the area, the world. Mainly because our water is pure and crystal clear. You can drink the water. And also the visibility is over 100 feet. You can dive year-round at the mine. The temperature never changes. The air temperature is always 60 degrees. The water temperature is always 65 degrees. Those are year-round constant conditions.
There's all kinds of neat things to see down below. When they closed the mine back in the early 60s, they took a few of the very expensive things out and just left everything else here. So there's a city down there. There's a railroad engine they used to use down there. It's over on its side right now. All kinds of equipment laying all around.
I've always wanted to go diving, but finally took the plunge. My brother bought me a Christmas present. This is it.
We've been to this is our second time to this site, and it's a very unique dive opportunity, very unique diving. They run a very good operation. I feel very secure here.
I've been diving for a while, but Tyler's getting certified. first time at this mine. This is pretty cool. We've been diving outside the U.S. and the Caribbean, and it's just very different. Saltwater, sea life, and everything is very different to this environment, which is very calm, very clear to see everything.
It's a lot of fun. And I like about this one is because there's these mine carts, and there's like this pickaxe where you can like pick up, but it weighs a lot, and you can hit the rocks.
What you're seeing here is history. You're diving through mining history. The only place in the world that you can experience that.
At Gihring Family Farms, you'll find the finest Missouri maple syrup. A family affair that requires long hours and hard work pays off with the sweet taste of a natural treat.
You know, what we're looking at right now is ideal for sap flow. I mean, we've got sunshine, we've got snow on the ground, and what really creates that sap flow is when you have daytime temperatures well above freezing, like in the upper 40s, even lower 50s, but you get that nighttime temperature in the well below freezing, like in the lower 20s. That creates a lot of sap flow, and right now we're in the middle of a sap tsunami. One of the jobs the kids like to do is just hooking up the drop lines to the tap. Usually it's after they suck a few drops of sap out of the tap. We run all of our taps on gravity tubing. You can see here there's just a downhill slope, the continuous path all the way to the barrel. The guys out east, a lot of the bigger operations, they'll use vacuum where they actually suck the sap out of the tree. We're a little bit more dependent upon the freeze-thaw cycle and the weather. You can see right now we're getting a pretty good sap flow. And it's flowed harder than this, but this is about typical from what we see. Good. What we have here is a maple evaporator. It's made specifically for making maple syrup. You can't really make molasses or anything like that on it. When we bring the sap in the tanks, pump it up to a head tank that gravity feeds, and as it boils away here, it works its way from this pan into this pan, and it concentrates, and then we pull syrup off of the side here. Now, it sounds simple, but what a lot of people don't realize is it takes one of these to make 4 of those. Basically, it's about a 40 to 50 gallon of sap to 1 gallon of syrup ratio. Is it good?
After we cook it to syrup outside, we bring it in stainless steel milk cans and put it in a couple stainless steel pots on the stove. Heat it back up, make sure it's the right consistency for maple syrup, and pour it through thick synthetic and wool filters into another stainless steel milk can that's been fitted with a spout for me to fill jars from. And I fill the jars and put the lids on, and the heat seals the jars right away, and it's ready for market. We have lots of people that aren't interested when they walk up and see the price, but once they get a taste sample, we've had people that were walking away turn around and come back because they realize the difference between it and what they buy cheap. Because this is nothing but maple sap taken out of the tree and boiled down to reveal the natural sugars or concentrate the natural sugars.
We have these ones.
Not yet. They're not cool yet.
Even though it gets really hectic and very busy, I mean, she's always canning or at the evaporator and I'm collecting sap. The kids are with us while we're doing all those things. Because I remember our first couple years, we were putting lines up in the woods. I tend to put things off until the last minute. And these kids would be out in the woods with me at 11 o'clock at night, all with our headlamps on, putting up maple lines. And those are some memories I'm never going to forget. I think it was Aldo Leopold said, you know, great spiritual danger in not owning a farm is to assume that breakfast comes from the grocer and that heat comes from the furnace. And kids that grow up in a farm, they know exactly where their food comes from and they know exactly where their heat comes from. They're connected.
I really enjoy cycling, have loved racing bikes for over 30 years now. I needed back surgery. I chose Southeast Health to have that done. I knew in the recovery room that I was better. I just didn't know how much better until I got out and completed my recovery. I'm back on the bike, feeling very comfortable in riding, and what a really nice experience it was to have that personal care from both my neighbors and my friends.
Gaming Grounds in Cape Girardeau, Missouri has a unique selling point. They offer the newest generation of video games and consoles, but also the classics in the gaming industry. People travel from all over the region to buy, sell, and trade the latest and greatest in video games.
My name is Shannon Young. I am the area manager of the Gaming Grounds store in Cape Girardeau and Jackson, Missouri. Gaming Grounds is a game store unlike any other. We cater to every type of gamer fan, from the people that love the new stuff, the people that grew up with the PlayStation and the Xbox, all the way back to the people that grew up with Atari, Super Nintendo, Nintendo. We are the predominant gaming store in the local area. One of the most exciting aspects of the Gaming Grounds store is that we do hold monthly tournaments. Sometimes we do 2 tournaments a month, sometimes we stick to just 1. We definitely have Smash Brothers tournaments at the end of every month, which are very popular, you know, with the college crowd across the way there. We've also done Mario Kart tournaments, Madden tournaments, Call of Duty tournaments. We've done retro tournaments. We just did a Mortal Kombat tournament for Super Nintendo just the other day. So a lot of good stuff, and that happens every month. Keep up with our Facebook. We post all of our info on there. This is the easiest way to keep up with that kind of stuff. Usual entry fee is $5. Everybody wins something, no matter what, no matter who wins or loses.
One of our groups that comes in is known as the Gamers Anonymous Club, and they are part of SEMO. Basically, they come in almost every Friday night around 6 o'clock. They come in, play, you know, whatever kind of games they want, and they hold a lot of tournaments as well. Some of them they also give out prizes.
We actually just opened up our Cape store here in April. Before that, we started a couple of years ago in Jackson, and been very successful in Jackson. Decided to open up one in Cape. to cater to more of the local crowd that has to drive all the way over there for, you know, to pick up their retro games and stuff like that. Broadway is very interesting. It's a completely different clientele than what we have in Jackson. In Jackson, we deal mostly with kids and teenagers, you know, that come from the school right across the street from us. Here in Cape on Broadway, we have a lot of the downtown scene. We have the college not far from us. We stay very, very busy, and it's very diverse. It's completely different from anything I've ever worked.
So some of our future plans is to try and get some live streams going, especially for our tournaments. I personally have like a PVR system that I would like to have set up with a camera and live stream tournaments whenever we do them, because I know some people have busy work schedules, and that even though they can't make it to some of our tournaments, at least be able to watch them, see how they go, see if they can at least ask off or enjoy the tournament at home, you know, in their environment.
We have some pretty exciting things coming out in the future. We are always expanding. We're getting in new products. We recently acquired computer cases and custom build stuff for PC gaming. It's the first time we've ever offered PC gaming. We're expanding our tournaments. We're getting in new gear. We're getting in controllers, accessories that we've never had before. We're always looking to expand into other territories, so we may be opening new stores in the future. We're always on the lookout to change things around. You know, in my opinion, everything that we do here, it's got to be constantly evolving to try to keep up with the gamers market of today.
Cape Copters, a locally owned business in Cape Girardeau, offers flight training, aerial photography, and the service and sales of many different aircraft. But it's really all about the spectacular aerial views.
My name is Paul Salmon. I'm part owner of Cape Copters here in Cape Girardeau. We have a helicopter flight school, and we're also a helicopter dealership. We're located at the Cape Girardeau Regional Airport here in Cape. It's just off I-55, about 4 or 5 miles south of town. We started Cape Copters in May of 2012. At that time, I was actually doing flight instruction as another entity, another company.
My name is Dean Hausman, and I'm an aircraft mechanic and pilot for Cape Copters, and I also work for Air Evac as a mechanic. I first met Paul Salmon. We both worked at the hospital on the helicopter. He was a nurse and I was a mechanic, so we had day-to-day interaction there, and we became friends, and we both liked flying. We both started flying airplanes in the beginning, and then he started flying helicopters before I did. He bought a couple of different aircraft and talked me into doing some maintenance for him, and one thing led to another, and we started Cape Copters in 2012.
I found I had a desire to start flying shortly after birth, and from then on it went on to obtaining my license in airplanes, and like I said, I started with airplanes and continued on through gyroplanes and helicopters. In our own personal helicopters, we have 4 Robinson helicopters, 2 of the R-44s, which are 4-seaters, and 2 2-seaters, which are the R-22. And then additionally, there's an R-66, which is a turbine helicopter that Robinson sells, and those are pretty much the active aircraft that are flying most of the time here at the airport. Most of the basic maneuvers are just basically takeoff and landings, crosswind takeoff and landing. You have to be able to make landings into what's called a confined area, where you actually come in and land in an area that's surrounded by trees, a relatively confined area. You have to also be able to do what are called auto rotations. Auto rotations are where you actually are able to glide the aircraft in. If the engine was to quit, you can glide the aircraft down for landing. We simulate engine loss just by rolling the throttle down during the procedure, so you're actually in and out of rotation. Those are probably one of the more difficult procedures to learn how to do effectively. You want to be effective with it, or the end result's pretty catastrophic at the end there if you crack the aircraft up. There's also one called the hovering auto rotation, where we will simulate engine loss from a hover. And the whole point of all these maneuvers is to be able to get the aircraft back on the ground and you along with the aircraft back safely on the ground. There's active students that fly on a regular basis. We probably have about 10 and likely have about another 10 or 12 that fly sort of intermittently. There's about 3/4 of the students that actually fly with us are wanting to do it as a job. They're looking for a career change, or they're young and they're decided they wanted to get in the helicopter industry.
I'm Tommy Wood. I recently became an employee for Copters as a CFI. I met Paul in July of 2013 and got hooked up with him and been flying with him ever since, and I actually got my commercial and instrument and CFI ratings with him. As a student, there was a lot of frustrating moments, but it was all worth it. I mean, there was never really a bad day of flying. I mean, there was moments where it's like, wish that wouldn't have happened, but that's just part of learning.
To get the private license it can be done very quickly if you had the money, financial means to do it, and motivation to do the written. Could actually achieve it in just a couple months, but most people, the average is about a year for a private and about 2 years if you want to go all the way through to your flight instructor's rating. Well, my favorite part about flying would be actually teaching people to fly. I actually enjoy doing that. Most people, when they get in the helicopter industry, they'll do flight instruction as a means of getting additional hours to continue on to another job in the corporate world or EMS, but I actually enjoy teaching people how to fly, which I think most pilots would rather try to avoid rather than enjoy. So.
Cape Girardeau Outdoor Sculptor Exhibit on Broadway has been a wonderful addition to the downtown Cape Corridor. After almost 2 years, the exhibit is about to be wrapped up and moved on. Professor Chris Wabana from Southeast Missouri State University was instrumental in the exhibit and shares his story about how this exhibit came to Cape Girardeau and how it attracted artists from all around the United States.
Public art is anything that you see in your everyday life, basically. It can be something, it can be a mural, it can be something on a building, it can be something that's inside a building. The Riverwalk mural downtown, that's public art. But it doesn't have to be something that's painted. It can also be something that is constructed, something that's three-dimensional. And it's something for the public to not just enjoy or think is beautiful or aesthetically pleasing. It's something that changes our everyday, challenges us to think about things, to think about what we think about the form or the content of the piece. It's not something that you have to go into a museum to see or a gallery. It's something that is right there with you, existing with you in your community. So we've been working on the exhibit, the prospectus, the nuts and bolts of it for, I would have to say, about 2 years, if not more, because there are a lot of legal things that we have to think about, a lot of fundraising we have to think about, and just the basic logistics of how do we get large-scale sculpture, here. Originally started when I read in the newspaper that Broadway was going to be repaved, redid, reconstructed to this new, Broadway. And in that newspaper article, I read that there was going to be a sculpture component, and I thought that this was interesting, and I was interested in being a part of that because being a sculpture professor here in this university in this town. I thought I would have something to contribute. Whenever you want to create something new out of your downtown, all cities see this, all cities have this, whether they're large cities or smaller cities. Quite often they bring in art, or the artists. Quite often artists will take over certain neighborhoods and they'll start changing it, making it more vibrant, more exciting, whether it's the different kinds of stores that open or the colors of the buildings that are painted. But in this case, one way of creating more revitalization or more dynamic environment downtown is to bring in these different sculptures that don't have one theme. They're all different. So from sculpture to sculpture, from block to block, you see something different. And I think that for a community, such as Cape Girardeau, where people are very proud of their community, I think it's really important to not only plant trees or work with outdoor environments, planted spaces, but also something else, something that brings a different, I think, challenging thing visually, and that's what I think it brings to Cape Girardeau. These pieces are not permanent. They're only up for a year. After a year, the artist will come back and deinstall them, and then hopefully we'll have another set of 7 or hopefully more to be in different places. However, that doesn't mean that they're not for sale. They could be purchased. We've had a lot of people interested already in purchasing them. So if whether it's a local business or a private person who wants it for their backyard, they are for sale. So some of them may actually stay in this community. Our committee has been approached by a few people already, whether they're local business owners that want a piece in front of their business, or others that are interested in commissioning artists to create sculpture for them. So I think that this is something that's going to grow. It may start entering into the parks. It may have a bigger role on campus. We just have to see. So I think that people in this community who've never seen anything like this before are gonna see the many different ways you can view art. And so we're all gonna be educated every single year.
This is your beginning. The entire world is before you. Every opportunity is yours.